Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have a secret superpower when it comes to dealing with stressful situations, while most explode, implode, or simply freeze in the face of conflict? These people remain centered, think clearly, and find solutions where others see only problems. Here's what will shock you. They weren't born that way. They don't take special medications. And they're definitely not naturally calm people. In fact, many of them used to be extremely reactive. What they discovered and what society never taught you is that trying to stay always calm is the worst possible strategy for dealing with intense emotions. It's like trying to stop a tsunami by building a wall on the beach. The secret isn't avoiding emotional waves, but learning to surf them with absolute mastery. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal to you the exact system that transforms emotionally reactive people into individuals with emotional agility, a skill that not only changes how you feel, but literally reprograms how the world responds to you. If you're tired of being hijacked by your own emotions, if you want to stop saying things you later regret, and if you're ready to discover how to transform any emotional turmoil into clarity and targeted action, then keep watching, because what you're about to learn could change not only your next difficult moments, but the entire trajectory of your relationships and your career. The biggest lie society has sold us about emotional intelligence is that emotionally mature people are always calm, composed, and unflappable. This belief is not only false, but it is profoundly destructive to your emotional development. True emotional mastery isn't about never feeling anger, sadness, or fear. It's about navigating these emotions with the skill of a seasoned surfer who knows how to use the force of the waves to their advantage rather than being swept away by them. When you try to remain always calm, you are essentially fighting against the most fundamental hum. In nature, we are emotional beings by design, and our emotions carry vital information about our environment, our values, and our needs. Ignoring or suppressing these messages is like turning off your home's alarm system and then wondering why it was burglarized. The act of bottling up emotions, what psychologists call emotional suppression, creates a devastating rebound effect that can last for days or even weeks. Research from Stanford University shows that when we try to suppress an emotion, the brain expends enormous amounts of cognitive energy to maintain that suppression, leaving us mentally exhausted and, paradoxically, more susceptible to future emotional outbursts. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The more force you use, the more violent the eruption will be when you finally let go. People who habitually suppress their emotions often report feeling disconnected from themselves, having difficulty making decisions, and a persistent sense of emotional emptiness. Furthermore, chronic suppression is associated with physical health problems, including hypertension, digestive problems, and a compromised immune system. This is where the revolutionary concept of emotional agility comes in, a skill few master, but can completely transform your life experience. Emotional agility doesn't mean avoiding emotional storms. It means developing the ability to quickly recognize them, understand their underlying message, and navigate them with speed and effectiveness. Think of a Formula One driver facing a sudden downpour during a race. They don't stop their car waiting for it to stop, nor do they ignore the changing conditions. Instead, they instantly adjust their strategy, shift gears, and use their experience to maintain control, even in challenging conditions. Similarly, when you develop emotional agility, unexpected criticism at work doesn't paralyze you for hours. You recognize the initial emotion, perhaps frustration or embarrassment, quickly process whether there's useful information in the criticism, and then consciously choose your response, all in a matter of minutes, not hours or days. There's a microscopic window between the moment something happens and your emotional reaction, a gap of approximately 3 seconds. That can determine whether you master the situation or are overwhelmed by it. Neuroscience reveals that when an emotional trigger is activated, there's a very brief period where your prefrontal cortex is still online, before the amygdala takes over and triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response. During these precious 3 seconds, you have a golden opportunity to intercept the automatic reaction and consciously choose how to respond. The problem is, most people never learn to recognize this crucial moment. It's like having a pause button in life, but not knowing where it is. When you develop the ability to capture this initial instant, you can literally reprogram your emotional experience in real time. The key to seizing this window is developing what I call your internal emotional radar, a keen awareness of the first physical sensations that precede an emotional outburst. Before you consciously feel angry, your body has already begun to react. Your jaw muscles tighten. Slightly, your breathing becomes shallower. Your shoulders tense almost imperceptibly. These are your early warning cues, your smoke signals before the emotional firestorm. A powerful technique is to do a lightning-fast body scan whenever you sense something isn't right in an interaction. Ask yourself this question: what is my body telling me right now? It could be a tightness in your stomach when someone questions your competence, a tension in the back of your neck when you feel disrespected, or a heat rising in your chest when you perceive injustice. These body signals are faster and more reliable than your conscious thoughts. Once you identify the trigger, the next phase is to create mental space through what psychologists call responsive pause. It's not a long, dramatic pause that makes everyone uncomfortable. It's a nearly imperceptible micropause, where you redirect your attention from the emotional impulse to your conscious intention. A practical way to do this is to use the SIR technique. Stop, mentally pause for a second. Inhale, take a deep breath. Redirect your focus to the outcome you truly want from this interaction. For example, if your boss criticizes you publicly and you feel anger starting to boil, instead of immediately defending yourself or counterattacking, you stop internally, take a breath, and ask yourself, what is my goal here? Do I want to prove myself right? Or do I want to resolve the issue constructively? This simple shift in focus from the problem to the solution can transform a destructive argument into a productive conversation, all because you took those critical 3 seconds to choose your response instead of reacting automatically. Your emotions aren't defects that need fixing. They're a sophisticated internal communication system that evolved over millions of years to keep you alive and thriving. Each emotion carries a specific message about your current state and your unmet needs. Anger, for example, is rarely about the superficial situation that triggered it. It usually signals that one of your core values has been violated or that you feel powerless in the face of injustice. Fear isn't just about physical danger. It often points to areas where you need more preparation, information, or support. Sadness, far from being a weakness, is the brain's natural mechanism for processing loss and transition, creating emotional space for new possibilities. When you learn to translate your emotions instead of judging them, they transform from enemies into highly specialized advisors that help you navigate the complexity of modern life. The most revolutionary discovery in emotional neuroscience in the last 20 years is something researchers call effective labeling. The simple act of accurately naming an emotion can reduce its intensity by up to 50%. Dr. Dan Siegel of UCLA coined the phrase "name it to tame it" after neuroimaging studies showed that when we verbalize our feelings, activity in the amygdala, the center of fear, dramatically decreases, while the prefrontal cortex, the center of reason, becomes more active. But here's the secret few know: precision matters enormously. Saying "I am upset" is far less effective than identifying "I'm feeling devalued because my contribution hasn't been recognized." The more specific you are in naming the emotion and its cause, the faster your nervous system can recalibrate. It's like the difference between saying something is broken in the car versus the left rear tire is flat. General information keeps you stuck on the problem, while precision points you directly to the solution. Once you've mastered the art of decoding your emotions, the next step is to consciously rewrite the narrative you tell yourself about challenging situations. Your mind is constantly creating stories to make sense of experiences, and these narratives have immense power over how you feel and act. If your partner comes home late without warning, you might tell the story that he doesn't respect me, generating anger and resentment, or the story that something unexpected must have happened, generating constructive concern instead of hostility. Carol Dweck of Stanford University has shown that people with a growth mindset instinctively reframe obstacles as learning opportunities, while those with a fixed mindset see them as confirmation of their limitations. A practical example: instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at presentations," after a difficult presentation, You might reframe it to "this presentation showed me exactly where I can improve my communication skills." This subtle shift in internal language not only changes how you feel in the moment, but also influences your future actions. One narrative leaves you feeling defeated and passive. The other energizes and motivates you to grow. When your physiology is out of whack, heart racing, shallow breathing, tense muscles, it's nearly impossible to access rational thought, no matter how much willpower you have. That's why breathing techniques aren't just relaxation exercises. They're neurological reprogramming tools that can literally shift your emotional state in less than 60 seconds. The most powerful technique I know is what I call recalibrated for 7-8 breathing. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 7, exhale through your mouth for 8. But here's the key twist. As you exhale, consciously relax each muscle group, starting with your jaw, then your shoulders, then your arms. Research by Stanford's Dr. Andrew Huberman shows that long exhalations activate the parasympathetic nervous system more quickly than any other breathing technique. When you combine this with progressive muscle relaxation, you're essentially resetting your nervous system, like restarting a frozen computer. Your body and mind are more connected than you might think. Specific physical changes can instantly alter your emotional state through something neuroscientists call embodied cognition. When you're emotionally upset, your posture naturally tightens, shoulders hunched, chest closed, gaze downcast. But you can use this mind-body connection in reverse. Intentional changes in posture can trigger corresponding shifts in mood. A powerful movement anchor is what I call a postural reset. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Roll your shoulders back 3 times, lift your chest, lift your chin slightly, and breathe deeply as you grow a few inches taller. Research by psychologist Amy Cuddy shows that just 2 minutes in this position can increase testosterone, the confidence hormone, by 19% and reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, by 25%. This isn't pseudoscience, it's a biochemical intervention you can apply whenever you need an instant boost of confidence and mental clarity. After applying any emotion regulation technique, there's a critical step most people skip: the post-intervention check-in. This is where you consciously assess whether you're truly ready to re-engage in the situation, or if you need more time to recalibrate. My re-entry checklist includes 3 simple but powerful questions. Is my goal in this situation constructive or defensive? Am I responding to the actual situation or my assumptions about it? And what outcome do I really want to create here? If you can't answer these questions clearly, you're not ready to re-engage, yet you need more time to process. Amy Edmondson of Harvard Business School found that high-performing teams instinctively conduct emotional check-ins before difficult conversations, ensuring everyone is in a productive state of mind. You can apply this same approach to yourself before responding to that annoying email, before confronting your partner about a problem, before any interaction with potential conflict. Do a quick check-in to ensure your response is guided by wisdom, not emotional reactivity. True emotional agility isn't built only during times of crisis, it's forged in the small, daily practices that strengthen your emotional resilience before you need it. Think of it like physical training. You don't just go to the gym when you need to lift something heavy. You train consistently so that when the situation calls for it, your body is ready. The same principle applies to your emotional health. Research from the University of Wisconsin shows that people who practice daily emotional hygiene, simple techniques like journaling, people who practice gratitude meditation for 10 minutes or reflect on personal values, have 23% lower cortisol levels and recover from acute stress 40% faster than those who don't. A powerful routine is what I call a nighttime emotional cleanse. Before bed, ask yourself 3 questions. What emotion did I carry throughout the day that no longer serves me? What am I genuinely grateful for today? And what version of myself do I want to be tomorrow? This just 5-minute practice prevents the buildup of emotional tension that, left unprocessed, turns into chronic reactivity. When you develop emotional mastery, the benefits extend far beyond your personal well-being. They create positive ripples that transform all your relationships and decisions. People with high emotional agility are naturally more attractive as partners, leaders, and collaborators because they offer something rare in the modern world: stability without rigidity, strength without aggression, and presence without control. They can remain centered during conflict, which allows others to calm down as well, creating an energetic field of emotional safety around them. Research from the Gottman Institute shows that in relationships, where at least one partner has high emotional regulation, marital satisfaction is 67% higher and the likelihood of divorce drops dramatically. In the professional environment, leaders with emotional agility make 25% better decisions under pressure and inspire 30% more confidence in their teams. According to studies by the consulting firm McKinsey, this happens because when you're not constantly reacting to your own emotions, you can devote all your mental energy to solving real problems instead of creating new ones. Through impulsive responses, the journey to mastering emotional agility is exactly that, a journey, not a final destination with a certificate of completion. Even experienced masters are occasionally caught off guard by an intense emotional reaction, and that's perfectly normal and human. What sets them apart isn't the absence of difficult moments, but the speed with which they recover and what they learn from each experience. Every time you successfully apply these techniques, every 3-second pause, every moment you name an emotion instead of being consumed by it, every conscious breath that brings you back to center, you are literally rewiring your brain to respond rather than react. Daniel Siegel of UCLA calls this directed neuroplasticity. You are consciously shaping your brain to become wiser, more resilient, and more compassionate. And here's the beautiful part: the more you practice, the more natural it becomes, until responding consciously ceases to be a technique and becomes simply who you are. You won't just be mastering your emotions, you'll be becoming a person who naturally creates harmony and growth wherever you go. You've just been given a complete arsenal of tools that can transform your emotional life forever. But tools only work when they're used. The difference between people who transform their lives and those who remain stuck in the same reactive patterns is simple: consistent implementation. Choose one technique from this video to master first. Maybe it's the 3-second rule. Maybe it's accurate emotion labeling. Or maybe it's recalibrated for 7-8 breathing. Commit to this single practice for 21 consecutive days. Don't try to do it all at once, because that guarantees failure. Emotional mastery is built one technique at a time, one conscious moment at a time. Here's your immediate challenge. Before you leave this video, identify your last intense emotional reaction. It could have been yesterday, last week, or even during this video. Now mentally replicate that situation, applying the techniques you've learned. How would it have been different if you had used the 3-second rule? What if you had accurately named the emotion instead of being consumed by it? Feel the difference in your body. This is the difference between being a victim of your emotions and being the author of your emotional experience. Now tell me in the comments which technique resonated most with you, and which will be your first implementation. I want to see specific examples of how you will apply this in your real life. If this content gave you a new perspective on your emotions, if you finally understood why staying calm didn't work, and if you're genuinely motivated to develop the emotional agility that can transform your relationships and your career, then subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. See you in the next video.